Well, good morning. Hi, all my crafty friends. I'm here again today with you guys to show you another process video for a window card. This came at the request of one of my friends on Facebook. So here you go. I hope that you enjoy it. We're going to go over to Design Space right now so that I can show you how to create this project for yourself. So we're here in Design Space, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to kind of start to set up the parts to our card. So we're going to go down to our shapes. We're going to grab us a square, which is usually how most of our cards start out, right? And we're going to create a card base here. Now on this card, I'm going to create the entire card base that most times we would just cut with our trimmer, but this card base is going to have a window in it. So I'm going to create my card base, and my card base is going to be the size of a 5x7. I have been into this 5x7 card thing right now, and I'm using my X and Y axis. Your X axis moves your image to the left and the right. Your Y axis moves your image up and down. I'm going back to my shapes, and I'm going to get my score line. Now I am not going to attach my score line right now because I'm going to be slicing. And remember, when you're slicing, that you're only able to slice 2 images at a time. So if I was to connect my or attach my score line at this very moment, then that would cause it to be 3 images and it would not show up. So I've used my X and Y axis again to put my score mark at the 5-inch mark. Now I'm bringing in another square. Now I'm starting to create the square that's going to create the window inside of our card. And so I'm going to make this window. No, I'm not making the window. I'm sorry. I'm making the front panel for our card. So this is going to be a 1/4 inch smaller than the other parts of the card base. So it's going to be 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And again, I'm going to use my X and Y axis to get that 1/8 of an inch border all the way around, just so that I can continue to see how my card is going to come along and I get a good visual of what I'm going to be creating. So we're going to go in one more time, and well, probably not one more time. We're going to go in again and get another square. Now we're going to start creating the parts to our window. So here I'm trying to figure out kind of how big I want the square to be. I think I want the actual window of the square to end up being 3 inches. So I'm going to create this first one at 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Then I'm going to look at placement, because I know that I'm going to want to do a small strip border down to the left side of the card. So I'm moving this to determine where I want to place it. And again, like I said, I like to use the X and Y axis in order to figure out exactly where I want my card to be. Your X axis will move your image to the left or to the right, and your Y will move your image up or down. That helps a lot, especially with, I'm a decimal person, so it helps me to visualize where things are going to be. So as you can see, now we're going to select those first 2 images, my front panel and that square, and I'm going to slice it. And now I'm going to remove one of those squares, and I'm going to take the other square and the back panel, the full panel of the card. This is the reason why we didn't want to attach the score line yet. And we're going to slice through it, because we're going to have a full window going through our card. That whole space is going to be able to be seen through. So I'm going to arrange that and move that back to the back. Now we can attach our score line to the base of our card, because we're pretty much done with that part. Okay, so we're going to move that back to the back so I can get my panel back up front. And the next thing that we're going to do, okay, Cricky's being a little weird right now. Okay, so we're going to take one of our squares. As you can see, one of my squares here is like a half of a square. I don't know what happened with that. I'm going to take one of my squares, and I am going to change it a little bit to be a tad smaller or a tad bigger, 3.5, so that I can create my border around the other one. So I'm going to select both of those squares, and then I'm going to align them and center them together. Once I get them centered together, then I can slice those two out, and that's going to create that window just to kind of give that polished look around my window of the card. So now I'm just looking at placement to make sure that I don't have that too big or too small. It's kind of looking the way that I want it to look. And I'm going to duplicate it because I'm going to place another one on the inside of the card to kind of make that look finished too. Here I'm just kind of looking at colors, thinking about what my color scheme is going to look like, going over to the color sync so that I can make sure I get those colors exactly the same. So after we've gotten that completed, I'm actually going in and looking at my background, and I'm thinking purple and yellow. You guys, I'm still here in upstate New York, and oh my goodness, it is still cold. I woke up this morning to 30-degree weather. It's supposed to be 19 tonight, and it snowed yesterday. I finally thought we were done, and we are not. I was just very mistaken. So here we've taken our other square, and I'm making this to replicate my acetate. So I've changed that to a light gray color, and that will be my piece of acetate that is kind of going to hold my picture on the inside. So we're going to use some vinyl to create a double-sided picture that you can see from both sides. We're going to take this piece, and I'm going to increase the size to 3.5 by 3.5, and that's going to create the window on both sides. So we're going to duplicate that. So we have both of those pieces there that go in the front and the back of our window. We have our inside window piece, and we have the frames to go to both of our windows. So our card is coming along pretty well. So now I'm going in. Like I said, I'm feeling spring right now because the winter just will not go away. So I'm looking for a butterfly. Now I'm going to scroll through and show you guys just how many butterflies Design Space has to offer. However, then I'm going to go in and type in the number because I know exactly which butterfly I want to use for this. In case you are wondering, I will make sure that I put the number in the description for you guys. Now, when you're putting in your number to find a specific image, make sure that you put in the number sign. It's the number sign, or the hashtag as everyone calls it now, and then the full number. So now you see that the butterfly that I would like to use has come up. I'm going to then go in. I clicked on that, so it came down to my bottom tray for me to take into Design Space. Now I'm looking for a flourish. I want to do a flourish on both sides of them. So I see the flourishes that I want. I don't want all of these, but I know that I can use contour and the hide feature to get just what I'm wanting. So now we're going to bring both of those images in, and we are going to size the butterfly first, kind of see where I want it in the window. And I chose a butterfly because a butterfly is symmetrical. And so if I flip it, it's going to look the exact same on both sides. So some things that would be really good to use in a window like this: butterflies, balloons, hearts. You could do, I was thinking of something else just now. Sometimes you can do certain flowers, but you have to just make sure that they're symmetrical. So if you flip them over, as you're going to see me do here, if you flip them over, then what we need is for them to continue to look the same even if they're flipped in, because one will go on one side of your window acetate and the other will go on the other side. So that's one of the pretty cool things about this. Moving to our flourishes, I'm going to hide the two flourishes that I do not want to use. Then I'm going to use the contour feature. I'm going to first go over and I'm going to duplicate that because I can't hide one part of this in the layers panel. Sorry, my words. So I'm using contour to take the left side out of one and then to take the right side out of the other. So then I'll have two that can be moved separately. And I'm going to put one on one side and I'm going to put the other on the other side of my butterfly. So here we're just kind of doing some arranging, figuring out what sizes I want the butterflies and the flourishes to be and where I want those to be placed. Now with the flourishes, I only did one of those because they showed through the acetate very good. And this is something that you can think about. You may decide that you don't want to do 2 images because your one image, especially if you're using vinyl, will show very clearly on both sides. And there's no need to use any type of adhesive or anything, so you don't have to worry about adhesive showing on the other side of your window. So that's another thing. For me, it may have just been a little bit of overkill in creating this and doing the double butterfly, but I really liked doing it, and I had fun creating it. But with the flourishes, I'm only doing one. So we're sizing the flourishes and getting those put in place where I would like for those to be, and kind of getting everything ready and in place so we can get ready to go over and cut all of the images out. So I'm really liking the way that this is coming together, and I think I have everything that I want, and I'm just kind of checking. I remember something. I need to get my little strip. So one of the things that I decided I wanted to do was a small strip that had some writing going down the left side. So we're going to go in, we're going to take another square, and I'm going to make that square about 3/4 of an inch. And I am going to make it the length of my card, 6 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch. And then once I get that done, then we're going to go back into our images and find another little flourish that I would like to have going down the side. I love using my Cricut pens. I try to incorporate the pens and the vinyl in as many projects as I possibly can, because I want to utilize the most out of the things that I purchase, because I feel like that's another hobby all in itself. Like, hate to say it, like I'm becoming this craft hoarder as well as a crafter. How many of you guys are that way? So as you can see, I'm back over here looking at flourishes because I'm just trying to find something that I can have the Cricut draw down the side of my image. And they have done an amazing job with adding so many different things to choose from. I just absolutely love all of the images. I think we have like 75,000 images at this point. It's just amazing to me. There is very rarely a time anymore that I am looking outside of Design Space for something. I just have to know how to search for things. That's the key. So I found a flourish that I like. I really like this heart. I think it kind of goes along with the other flourishes that I have. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to size it, and I'm going to duplicate it several times to bring it all the way down the side of our panel. So as we're doing this, I'm going to first of all change this, because remember, I don't want to cut this out. I want to draw it. So I'm going to go up to the left hand side at the top, and I'm going to click where it says cut, and I'm going to change that to draw. So now that it's going to draw that image for me, I'm going to duplicate it down the side of the panel, and then I'm going to grab them all at the same time and attach them together, so then they will draw on that strip of paper. Do you guys ever have times when you're unable to speak or articulate what you're trying to say? I think because it's so early in the morning. I'm not a 5 o'clock type of girl, but duty calls as a wife, so I'm up really early this morning and said, well, let me go ahead and knock out my voiceover and get that done before I take that other morning nap, because I will not be able to function for the rest of the day if I were to stay up. So what about you guys? Are you morning people, night owls, or just like give me an 11 to 7 and let's call it good? That's kind of me. I'm that 11 to 7 type of person. I'm old when it comes to nighttime because I want to go to bed. I'm old when it comes to the morning time because I want to sleep in. I don't know. So we've attached all of our images. And now we're going to go in once more, and I'm looking for my sentiment now. So I'm going to go in, and the last thing I'm doing is looking for the word you. What I typically do is I always go into images first, because they a lot of times have really awesome, nice, big, beautiful fonts that I might not be able to find easily looking through the actual fonts. So sometimes I go in and I'll take an image that has the word you in it, remove all of the other elements, or use contour so that I can just pull that you out. So here I am just kind of scrolling through, looking for some U's that I like. This is usually my go-to U, and you'll see I end up actually using that one, but I'm scrolling through just to see if anything pulls on me a little bit more, and kind of stopping, looking around. I always like to get things that are pretty much attached already so I can cut it all out in one piece. Sometimes that doesn't happen. It just depends on your personal preference. But for me, I like easy because I like that stacked layered look. So kind of looking through a little bit more, you can get lost in all of these images and in the fonts. I mean, Cricut really has outdone itself in all of the new images that we've received in such a short period of time. Now I'm going back up, and I'm going to go to my go-to. So once I bring that in, here, we're going to insert it, and then once it comes in to design space, I will then move all the other elements that are included in the you and me so that I can just isolate the word you. So here you see I'm going into the layers panel, and I'm actually hiding. It probably would have been better for me to just delete all of those other images, because I'm going to end up duplicating this 5 times, and that's going to duplicate the whole image 5 times, which sometimes can bog down how your design space works. So here I'm just getting my placement. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start working on duplicating it, and then I'm going to take this over to our mat. I'm going to cut out all of the pieces, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have fun putting this together. So the last part of this, you see me duplicating all of those and getting that aligned up. I'm going to fix my color choices, and then we're going to go in and finish this. I hope you guys are really loving this card so far. I thought it came out amazing, and so we're going to go right in after this and start working on some other fun elements just to kind of bring some different life to this card. So we're going to align all of these pieces together, and I use my align button. I'm going to center them all together and then place them on top of each other just because it makes it look a little bit cleaner for me. I don't know how you guys are when you're working in design space, but I still like for things to look very organized. So now we've got that done. And the next thing we're going to do is put it in the place that I'm going to be looking for it once we actually put the card together. As you can see, I missed and hit the wrong button, and I grouped too much together. So I had to go in and undo that. Undo button is your friend in design space. I always tell people you can't break it because you always have that undo button, and the undo button will undo all the way to the very beginning of your project. That's why it's okay to play. So now we're here, and I'm showing you all the different colors that we're going to use to make our alcohol ink background. I'm also using one additional color. I'm taking some of the alcohol blending solution and 91% isopropyl alcohol, and we're going to use this to make a really fun background to kind of put some pizzazz to our card front. Now, you're going to find in just a little while that me completely forgets to put the alcohol ink background on the card. So we had a huge blooper, but I was able to recover. All because as you get done with your alcohol ink background and you kind of get it to where you're wanting it and it moves as much as you want it to, you're going to move it off to the side and allow it to have a little bit of time to dry. Now, these backgrounds don't take a ton of time to dry, which is really, really awesome. And you can play with them a lot. They're very forgiving. Say you didn't like the way that this came out, you have the complete opportunity to alcohol it down and start over. So here I'm moving it off to the side, but sadly, I forgot about it when the card gets split over. So we've cleaned off our area. I'm bringing in all of the elements so that I can kind of make this stacked look. This is our stopper topper. I said I was going to remember to tell you guys what that was called. I got that over at maymaymadeit.com. I love those little things. Comes in a variety of colors and some very lovely different charms on it. So we're stacking up our word U. I made that nice and big so that it could really carry the front of our card. And it kind of makes it one of those cards that is very versatile. You could use it for anything. The inside of your card could say happy birthday to you. Just thinking about you. Telling you that I love you, whatever you want it to be. And so sometimes when I don't really have a purpose for my cards, I kind of try to use a really nice sentiment that can be changed around to be very versatile. So as you can see, it doesn't take a very long time to stack up the die cutouts. And it gives you a very good dimensional look for your card. And I really like to have elements on my card that lift up and that are off the page. It gives me really, really good dimension on the card base. So try that out. It's really awesome, you know, pairing that with some pearl paper from Cricut, because I just love shimmer. I know that you guys have heard me say that in probably every video, but I do love to have a lot of shimmer on my card, and this pearlized paper gives a perfect finish to your cardstock. So here we have our U completed, and we get to move on to the next part of completing our card. Now you see I have 3 pieces of acetate and I have 2 butterflies. Now you really didn't need to use 2 butterflies. That's probably just the overkill in me, and that's why I only did 1 set of flourishes. So I used some magic cover, which is a very light tack transfer paper that you can get at the dollar store, and it works really well for most of the projects that I like to use. So here I'm taking our butterfly and I'm going to place that on the smaller piece of acetate. That smaller piece of acetate is going to sandwich between the 2 bigger pieces of acetate to create that very clear window that's able to be seen from the inside and the front of our card. So I'm taking the second butterfly and I'm going to get that to align right on top of the first butterfly, therefore creating the illusion that you can see the butterfly no matter which way you turn the card. Now I found out when I was doing the flourishes that because I'm using vinyl on this and there is no adhesive to be seen, it already looks that way. So that's why I did not make 2 flourishes. I really like the look of both of the butterflies, and you really could use anything in this place as long as it's an image that is symmetrical. You may use a flower or a butterfly, hearts, balloons, anything that if you flip it around, use the flip button in Design Space, that it would look exactly the same. That's if you wanted to use paper. Like I said, if you're using vinyl, pretty much you could put anything here that you want. So as you can see, I'm finishing getting our flourishes on, and you see how beautiful that came out. I just love butterflies. It's probably one of my favorite things. And now we're going to take our card base and we're going to fold that, and we're going to crease it to get a really good fold in, and we're going to start creating our window. Now pay attention closely because we're going to get to the point of my boo-boo. So as you can see, I am just measuring to make sure that everything is going to look the way that I want it to look. And now I'm using some Be Creative tape, some very, very sticky double-sided tape two-sided tape, I guess, however you want to say that, to adhere my adhesive. Now you're going to notice in a little while that I figure out that my art glitter glue is strong enough to hold all of the pieces onto the acetate. So you can use a good liquid adhesive. Now I use art glitter glue and I cannot attest to any other glue, but I just wanted to tell you, you can either use a dry adhesive, make sure it's something very sticky, or you can use the wet adhesive that I use. So I'm just putting a frame around that because I really like for these things to have a very finished look. And on the outside, on the inside, not the outside. Come on, Kiona. On the inside, I am still using that Be Creative tape, but you will see in just a little while that I am going to switch over to using some, what is the word that I'm looking for? I'm going to use some liquid adhesive. That's the word that I'm looking for. I don't even know why I couldn't get that out. I am so very sorry that my articulation has left me. I really do love using the Be Creative tape. I really enjoy using those dry adhesive, but I do not enjoy having to peel the backers off of all of this tape. It's just not fun for me. Now, what I did here was I doubled the backside. That is unnecessary. I just didn't want to be wasteful with the pieces that I had. So therefore, I just put another layer on there because two cut out when I was creating the card. So now you can see here, I have placed the butterfly flat inside the window of the card. I don't have it adhered at all. It just snugs very securely inside of the window so that you can see it on either side, which is really nice. I've placed my frame down just to kind of make sure that it is working very well. And here you see I have put all my double-sided adhesive on the frame. However, that was a really bad idea because I was thinking to myself, this looks really, really, really plain. I don't know why it looks so plain. Well, it looked so plain because I had forgotten the alcohol ink. So I was able to get the 3M foam tape off because I had not pressed down on it very much. So now I'm going back and placing our alcohol ink background in place so that now our card does not look so plain. And I am going to put that on and we're going to create a shaker element. So you can see there on my left, I have some seed beads that I have put out in that purple and yellow color just to kind of go together. And I'm going to place those inside the window on top of the butterfly element prior to putting our foam on the front. So now we're going to put our foam pieces and the acetate on top of that where the seed beads are, and then we'll be able to put our frame on. We will get our frame adhered in place, and this is where I go to start using my liquid adhesive because I finally figured out that that will work just fine for me. And we're going to get that in place. And then the other thing that we will have to do, now I will tell you guys, do as I say and not as I did. I would have placed the strip that is going to go along the left side on prior to putting the window and the sentiment on. Now I didn't think about that, and I think again I was on autopilot and it was kind of out of sight and out of mind for me. So don't do what I did, but I was able to get it on there all as well, and I used my Cricut pens to write that on there, and I really enjoy using those just to add an additional element to the pen. So here we go. Here's the final look at our card. I really enjoyed you guys. Thank you so much for stopping in. I'm going to finish this off with a little bit of Nuvo drops, and we are going to call this card a done one. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you'd like to see. And whatever you do, continue to create kindness, have fun crafting, and I will be seeing you guys again really, really soon.